Assalamu alaikum everyone. वालेकुम सलाम, रमज़ान मुबारक। क्या हाल है आप लोगों के? Tomorrow is paper 2. Good luck. Oh yeah, title I know पुराना set हुआ है. That's one thing I always forget to change. खैर, I'll quickly change it. Thank you. Anyway, क्या हाल है आप लोगों के? How was the first roza? Okay. Title is now fixed. Sir, my calculator, I'm good, alhamdulillah. Acha, what's that? My calculator is FX350 ES plus. Yeah, it's fine. See, as long as you cannot draw graphs in your calculator, it's fine. Okay, जब तक आप graphs अपने calculator में नहीं बना सकते, there's absolutely nothing to worry about. Okay, and I don't think people have those calculators. I mean, those calculators are not very common to begin with, so there's nothing to worry about really. Okay. Sir, is differentiation harder or integration? I would say maybe it's a good question really. It depends on the student really. वैसे differentiation लेंदी है, integration इतनी लेंदी नहीं है. सर एक रिक्वेस्ट है, मैथ के एंगल प्रॉपर्टीज़ वाले फास्ट पर करवा दें, किसी दिन बहुत हार्ड हैं. मैंने किए हैं बेटा. आई डिड अ वेरी एक्सटेंसिव स्ट्रीम ऑन एंगल प्रॉपर्टीज़ ऑफ सर्कल्स. ओके, सो प्लीज़ स्टॉप स्पैमिंग. मैं ठीक अलहमदुलिल्लाह, थैंक यू फॉर आस्किंग. वालेकुम सलाम. सर वी हैव स्कूल, व्हाई सो लेट स्ट्रीम्स? द थिंग इज़ रमज़ान में, आई मीन आई थिंक दिस इज़ द बेस्ट टाइम टू स्ट्रीम इन रमज़ान. आई डोंट हैव अ प्रॉब्लम स्ट्रीमिंग some other time, like, but the thing is, उस time पे I don't think you guys will have the energy to watch it. So let me know what time works best for you guys. I think this time is good. Every time I've streamed in Ramzan, this is the time that I've normally opted for. But yeah, we're just starting. रोज़ हाँ आप कह सकते हैं रोज़, और मे बी एवरी ऑल्टरनेट डे इंशाल्लाह. 10 तक रख लें. फिर 10 तक तो तरावी से नहीं फारिग होते लोग. मैं ख़ुद नहीं फारिग होता, तो मैं क्या करूँ. सर आप ओ लेवल की 11 बजे कैसे करेंगे? सर जैन की भी होगी. हाँ, सी द थिंग इज़, मैं करूँ सर जैन करें, टाइमिंग यही प्रेफरेबल होते हैं. ओके, टाइमिंग्स यही प्रेफरेबल होते हैं. सो बिकॉज ऑफ रमज़ान तरावी से फारिग होते होते 10:30 पौने 11 हो जाते हैं. सो या, एनीवे, सो लेट्स स्टार्ट. आई थिंक लेट्स enough chit chat. We'll chit chat along the way. Let's start. Acha, before I start, I would appreciate if you guys would just like the stream. हर दफ़ा याद दिलाना पड़ता है. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. I'll appreciate that. And let's get to work. So today's agenda is that we are going to solve coordinate geometry past paper questions. Okay, we're going to solve as many past paper questions as possible, and through past paper questions we're going to learn the concept. Okay, so coordinate geometry is one of those topics you can sit down and learn all the concepts as many times as you want, but for as long as you're not going to solve past paper questions, you wouldn't know where you stand, and you wouldn't be able to fully grasp the concepts if you don't do past paper questions. So it's important that once you've, and when it comes to concepts, it's just formulas really. Okay, it's just formulas. There's not much to know when it comes to concepts, and you can download this PDF. I've shared a link in the description. You can download this PDF, and you can also download my notes. Notes आप download कर सकते हैं directly from the website. Okay, so you can go on the website. You can download coordinate geometry notes. They're very extensive, and make sure that you keep a copy of the notes with yourself. Now, we're going to solve some easy questions, we're going to solve some medium level questions, and we're going to solve some difficult questions as well. साद भाई कल डिफ्रेंशिएशन पे टेस्ट है, IGCSE कहाँ से पढ़ूँ? आई थिंक आई हैव डन अ स्ट्रीम. बेटा यूट्यूब पे जाके लिखो, आपको कोई ना कोई वीडियो आ ही जाएगी. ओके, could be my video, could be Zain's video, it doesn't really matter. You'll find plenty of content. I think intent is what matters, so show some intent, show some responsibility, and I'm sure you'll find a way. Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, let's start. We're going to solve some easy questions and we're going to solve some difficult questions. I've highlighted the questions in which you cannot use a calculator. So you'll see the symbol. This means that you cannot use a calculator. Okay, so this is something that I have added because, as you know, as the previous paper pattern was such that you could use a calculator in every paper. So this is a very common concept. It says find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the line joining the points 4, -7 and -8, -9. Now, as we know, perpendicular bisector, perpendicular basically means that it's making a 90-degree angle. Okay, that's what perpendicular means. And to bisect basically means to cut it into half. Okay, so put these two together and you will get you will understand what perpendicular bisector really is. Now, when you're solving questions related to coordinate geometry, here's a suggestion. Always make a rough sketch. I said this while solving questions related to circles also, and I said this this applies in coordinate geometry of a straight line as well, that you must make a rough sketch. Okay, now when you're making a rough sketch, here's what you should keep in mind. Just for example, you have 4 -7. So let's say 4 -7 is somewhere over here. Okay, now what's the other point? The other point is -8, 9. So that means it's going to be slightly towards the left and slightly above the previous point. Okay, so that's the only thing that you need to keep in mind. So let's इस point को हम A कह देते हैं अपनी तरफ से. ठीक है, और इस पॉइंट को हम B बोल देते हैं अपनी तरफ से. So this is what the line looks like. Okay, now next thing that we have to do is, we'll learn the concept. Like I said, we'll learn the concept along the way. Okay, we'll learn the concept along the way. So perpendicular bisector, if we're supposed to find out the equation of the perpendicular bisector of this, what we're going to do is we need to find out the gradient of line AB. Okay, so first things first, let's find out the gradient of line AB. Remember, A and B, I've called them A and B myself. They're not officially mentioned as A and B. So let's do that. Let's find out the gradient of these 2 points. So if I find out the gradient of AB, let's see what do we get. We get 9 minus -7 over -8 minus 4. So 9 minus -7 is 16, -8 minus 4 is -12. And you know, we could tell that this is a downward sloping line, so it must have a negative gradient. So 16 upon -12, when you simplify, you get -4 upon 3. So this is the gradient of line AB, okay? We want the gradient of perpendicular bisector. So the gradient of perpendicular bisector will be the negative reciprocal of the line AB. Remember, when two lines are perpendicular, their gradients are negative reciprocal of one another. Now, another thing that we need is a point through which the line is going to pass. So remember, there are two boxes when you're finding out the equation of a straight line, जो हमें check करने होते हैं. One is the gradient box. You must check that box. And the other box is the point. Now, so far, we have found the gradient. Now we want a point through which the line is going to pass, because that is how we can get an equation. A point kahan se milega? Point hame milega midpoint. Remember, perpendicular bisector cuts into half. That means it passes through the midpoint. Okay, it always passes through the midpoint. So midpoint nikal lete hain. Midpoint ka formula I hope sabko yaad ho. You add the x coordinates, divide by 2. You add the y coordinates, divide by 2. So 4 plus -8, that's -4. -4 upon 2 is -2. And -7 plus 9 is 2. 2 upon 2 is 1. ठीक है, अब दोनों boxes check हो गए. Now let's put this information together and find the equation. Acha, now I'm going to tell you something interesting. Y minus y1 is equals to mx minus x1. Okay, so we have our x1 and we have our y1. Notice that the question doesn't say that you're supposed to give the equation in a certain form. The question doesn't say that. Okay, now if I just leave it over here, y minus 1 equals to 3 upon 4 into x minus -2, which will then eventually become +2. That is good enough. Y minus 1 is equals to 3 upon 4 into x plus 2. This can be the final answer, unless the question does not specify that you're supposed to write it in a certain form. Okay, so a lot of times you will notice that the question will say that give your answer in so-and-so form, ax plus by or something like that. So this is good enough, or if you want, you can simplify it, but it's not necessary. Okay, so I'll mention over here that no need to expand and simplify if the question does not say so. Okay, so just like here, the question does not say that you're supposed to write it in a certain form. So if you leave it over here, that's good to go. Okay, and if you don't, if you think that's a little too good to be true, so I'll show you the marking scheme here. So notice this or equivalent, meaning that if you leave your answer over here or anything that's equal to this, that's good enough. No need to simplify it any further. Okay, so that was a fairly easy question. And with this, I hope the concept of perpendicular bisector is clear. Acha, let me take a few questions now. Sir, I have my mock exams tomorrow for a full portion. Is it too late to start permutations and combinations? But 15 minutes से आप मुझसे एक सवाल पूछ रहे हो. Why don't you just actually start right now and figure it out yourself? Okay, so I'm not going to answer that question. I don't know what your level of preparation is right now. And my suggestion is just don't waste time. Just start immediately and figure it out yourself. Okay, so question number 2. Next question. The curves y equals to x square and y square is equals to 2x intersect at O, 0, 0 and at the point A. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the line OA. So once again, the concept here is related to perpendicular bisector. The stream will probably be around 2 hours. Okay, that's how long the stream is going to be, most likely. Acha, Sinan, that's a good thing that's a good question. Okay, distance between two parallel lines. That's not very commonly tested. In fact, I haven't seen a question on distance between two parallel lines at all. So what I would suggest is this. Download my notes. You can download the notes from the website. They're all free. And in it, I've explained how to find out the distance between two parallel lines and also the distance between a line and a point. I've explained that. Okay, so you can check it out from the notes. If you come across a question, I'll try and see if there's a question. I'll solve a question as well. Okay, but it's not tested very often. So just learn the concept and you're fine. So here are two curves. Now this question is pretty straightforward, except that it's very lengthy. Okay, it's a lengthy question. It's an 8-mark question. And trust me, these are questions that, I mean, if I were doing the exam, I would be delighted to see that we have an 8-mark question which only involves algebra and a bit of coordinate geometry. Okay. Acha, remember that coordinate geometry is tested with vectors. Coordinate geometry is tested with simultaneous equations. These are the two topics that you will notice that there is usually a combination of coordinate geometry with either vectors. We're going to solve some questions, some really tricky ones also, inshallah. And coordinate geometry is tested sometimes with simultaneous equations. So let's see what this says. We have two equations, okay, and they are intersecting at 2 points. One is the origin and the other is point A. So we have the origin, we have to find out the coordinates of point A. So that means we're going to solve these two equations simultaneously. So y is equals to x square and y square is equals to 27x. Now let's solve them simultaneously. And the only method that makes sense to use is substitution. So let's plug in x squared in place of y. Don't forget to square the whole thing, which is equal to 27x. So I've used substitution over here. That means x power 4 is equals to 27x. Let's move all the terms over to the left-hand side. So x power 4 minus 27x equals to 0. Let's take x common. So we have x cubed minus 27 equals to 0. One solution is x equals to 0. The question already gave us that. So, it's not exactly something new for us. The other solution is x cubed minus 27 equals to 0, which means x cubed equals to 27, which means x is equals to 3. Okay, so what do we have now? We have the x coordinates and we need to find out the y coordinate. I'm streaming most likely math tomorrow. I think I'll be doing algebra word problems or statistics. In dono mein se koi ek cheez I'll be streaming tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Okay. Now, once we have the x coordinate, we need to find out the y coordinate. So remember, y is equals to what? Y is equals to x square, which means y is equals to 3 square. That means y is equals to 9. So we have the coordinates of A. They are 3, 9. Okay. So why didn't you write minus 3? But when you take the cube root, you only get, if it's positive, then you get a positive value. If it's negative, then you get a negative value. Okay. So intersection point तो given नहीं, हमें एक point given है, एक point नहीं given. ठीक है, you're right. Intersection point given है, एक given है, एक नहीं given. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब क्या हुआ? अब हमारे पास intersection points आ गए. Remember, एक rough sketch बना लिया करें, आपकी ज़िंदगी आसान हो जाएगी, and you'll feel a lot more confident. So OA is going to be an upward sloping line. How do I know? Because O के coordinates हैं 0, 0, and A के coordinates हैं 3, 9. Okay, so that means it's going to be an upward sloping line, which means when I find out the gradient of perpendicular bisector, that should be negative. So let's find out the gradient of OA. That's going to be 9 minus 0 over 3 minus 0. That means 9 upon 3, which is equal to 3. Okay. Now let's find out the gradient of perpendicular bisector of OA, which is going to be minus 1 upon 3. Okay, what's next? We want a point through which the perpendicular bisector is going to pass. That always is going to be the midpoint. So that's going to be 0 plus 3 upon 2, comma, 0 plus 9 upon 2. There you go. So 3 upon 2 and 9 upon 2. ठीक है, हमारा point भी आ गया. अब let's put this together. So let's see what we can do. The formula for finding the equation is y minus y1 is equals to m x minus x1. So that means y minus 9 upon 2 is equal to minus 1 upon 3 x minus 3 upon 2. And notice the question does not say that we're supposed to give the equation in a certain form. So no need to waste your time and simplify. This is good enough. Okay, this is good enough. All right, now let me take some questions. Poll date? What do you mean poll date? Kal, yeah, most likely day after tomorrow, there will be a stream on math, and I will take the topic that has the most votes. And I think it was statistics, and the other was algebra word problems. Yeah, so one of these two I'll be streaming tomorrow. ठीक है, मैं announce कर दूंगा YouTube पे. I'll announce on my Instagram and I'll announce on my YouTube as well. And there will be more polls where you guys can vote and give your input. Why don't you do live streams for October, November people? I do. I just didn't do them this year. Otherwise, I do. Not a lot of people appear in October, November. That's why. Khair. Anyway, so let's check the answer, see if it's correct. Yep, we are good to go. Now, I think enough of easy questions. Now let's increase the difficulty level and easy. ये करते हैं. I like this question. Asymptote पे मैं एक separate video बना दूंगा. Okay, don't. Asymptote is not a big deal. It's not a deal breaker. It's one of those concepts like symmetry or relative frequency. They're hardly going to be a 1 or 2 mark question. It's part of the syllabus, I know, but don't freak out over it. You have plenty of bigger fish to fry. You know, you have very important paper 2 topics to worry about. So don't worry about asymptote. I'll make a video on it before the CI exam, inshallah. Now, these are intermediate difficulty level questions, okay? A line L has equation 4x plus 5y equals to 9. Points A and B have coordinates. So let's write them down. A has coordinates minus 6, 7. B has coordinates 1, 9 respectively. What did I have in Aftari? Let me solve this question. Then I'll tell you. Okay, मैं इतना याद कर लूँ what I had in Aftari. Find the equation of the line parallel to L. So the keyword here is parallel to L. Now what happens when 2 lines are parallel? Question for you guys. Which passes through the midpoint of AB. Okay, so while I'm finding out the midpoint, I want you guys to tell me what happens when 2 lines are parallel. So to find out the midpoint, we add the x coordinates, divide by 2. We add the y coordinates, divide by 2. So minus 6 plus 1 is minus 5, minus 5 upon 2. Let's leave it as it is. 7 plus 9 is 16, 16 upon 2 is 8. So there you go. That's the midpoint. Yes, that's correct. When 2 lines are parallel, they have the same gradient. Okay, good to hear. So parallel to L means that it's going to have the same gradient as line L. Now, what's the equation of line L? It's 4x plus 5y equals to 9. Let's make y the subject. So 5y equals to minus 4x plus 9. So y is equals to minus 4 upon 5x plus 9 upon 5. So we have the gradient, and that's the second box that we have to check before we find out the equation. Gradient aa gaya hamare paas minus 4 upon 5. Let's put this and this together and we will have the equation. Achha, we don't need to find out C. Okay, so Ayan, we don't need to find out C. Remember, just plug in the values in this formula. Unless the question doesn't say that you're supposed to write it in so and so form, you don't have to. So y minus 8 is equals to minus 4 upon 5 into x minus minus, which will eventually become plus 5 upon 2, and that's it. You're good to go. Okay, so notice the question does not say that you're supposed to write the equation in a certain form, so you don't have to. Sir, how often is this topic assessed in AdMaths P2? Very often. Coordinate geometry is a very important topic. I mean, you won't come across a paper which doesn't have coordinate geometry in it. Sir, is construction in syllabus? Yes, of course it is. It is in the math syllabus, if that's what you're talking about. Of course. Construction, triangle construction is still part of the syllabus. Not perpendicular bisector, not angle bisector, but triangle construction is still very much part of the syllabus. Okay, now let's solve this question. So once again, in the first part, we're supposed to find out the equation of the perpendicular bisector. So that's a no-brainer. Let's do that together. Let's write down the coordinates of A, 4, 3, coordinates of B, 12 and minus 7. Aftari mein kya kaya maine? The usual stuff. I don't have fried stuff during Aftar, but fruit chaat, chole, I love chole, aur kya? And then direct khana. Surds are part of syllabus or not? Surds are part of the syllabus. But आप लोग किस दुनिया में रह रहे हैं? ठीक है, syllabus आपने, if you're unaware of what the syllabus is, just go online and search. That's it. I mean, you should not be dependent. ठीक है, it's good to have resources. It's great. They're there to benefit you. But just go online and see what the syllabus is. Surds are part of the syllabus. Okay, if right now you're still asking me what's part of the syllabus and what's not, God only knows what your level of preparation is like. So just make sure that you are completely aware of what's part of the syllabus and what's not. Go online, see the syllabus for yourself, and see what topics you've covered, what topics you haven't. Okay? So now let's get back to this question. We need to find out the equation of line L, the perpendicular bisector. So what's the step-by-step procedure? The step-by-step procedure is that we first find out the gradient of line AB. So that's minus 7 minus 3 over 12 minus 4. Minus 7 minus 3 is minus 10. 12 minus 4 is 8. Simplify Carlo, so that's minus 5 upon 4. That means the gradient of the perpendicular bisector will be 4 upon 5. Sir, didn't we use the formula? I don't remember seeing. But this is AdMaths. Okay, this is AdMaths. In AdMaths, we can use y minus y1 over x. Y minus y1 equals to m into x minus x1. Okay? So we have the gradient of perpendicular bisector. Next thing we want is a point through which the line is passing. So we can find that midpoint. So 4 plus 12 upon 2 and 3 plus minus 7 upon 2. So 4 plus 12 is 16. 16 upon 2 is 8. 3 minus 7 is minus 4. Minus 4 upon 2 is minus 2. So we have the midpoint. We have the gradient. Now what do? We put it all together and we find out the equation. So that's it. Let's put this together. Y minus minus 2. So that will become y plus 2 equals to 4 upon 5 into x minus 8. Up here, since we're supposed to probably, since in the following part, we're supposed to probably use the equation of this line, so it would be a good idea to actually simplify it. Now let's cross multiply. So 5y plus 10 is equals to 4x minus 32. Let's write this nicely. 5y is equals to 4x minus 32 minus 10. So that's minus 42. मुश्किल सवाल भी कर लेंगे. Let's not jump to a difficult question immediately. We'll get there gradually. So 4x minus 32 minus, let me make sure that I've done this correctly. 32 minus 42 is minus 10, minus 10. ठीक है, सही है, this is correct. Remember, no, by the way, did you guys notice that we've solved, I don't know how many questions, I think this is the third, fourth question, and we still haven't used a calculator. I know we're solving questions that don't require a calculator, but a lot of people were freaking out initially when the syllabus changes were announced that, how will we do questions without a calculator in advance? So, here we are solving them effortlessly without the use of a calculator. Now, part B. The line parallel to AB, okay, so parallel, remember, means same gradient, which passes through the point 5, 12, intersects L at the point C, find the coordinates of C. So how do we find out the point of intersection? Question for you guys. I have been waiting for this slide, turn on the notifications. Okay. Beta, just make sure that you read the instructions in the paper. Okay, you didn't read the title, that's acceptable, but make sure you read the instructions in the paper. So, how do we find out the point of intersection? We find out the point of intersection by solving two equations simultaneously. Okay, so, just a minute. We have one equation which is 5y equals to 4x minus 42. Let's put this on the side. We want another equation. What's the other equation? The other equation is the line which is parallel to AB. Parallel to AB means that it's going to have the same gradient. So the other equation that the question is talking about has gradient minus 5 upon 4. Okay, and what's the point through which it's passing through? It's passing through 5, 12. Okay, so let's form the equation. Y minus 12 equals to minus 5 upon 4 into x minus 5. Let's cross multiply. So we have 4y minus 12 times 4 is 48, which is equal to minus 5x plus 25. Since we're supposed to solve them simultaneously, let's rearrange it in a way that it's easy for us to solve the two simultaneously. So we have 5x plus 4y, which is equal to 25 plus 48. Now what's 25 plus 48? Let's work it out on the side. Remember, no calculator. 8 plus 5 is 13. 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. So that means this is equal to 73. And this is the second equation. Now, which method would you prefer to solve these two equations simultaneously? Okay, so in the meantime, I'm just writing this nicely, and I want you guys to tell me which method you would prefer to solve these two equations simultaneously. So this is the final equation now. Okay, Sarah, how did you, okay, can you do a video, draw all types of graphs? I've done a stream on trigonometric graphs, okay, and I'll do later streams where we cover exponential and logarithmic graphs as well, modulus also, okay. The preferable method, especially when you're solving two equations simultaneously, and given that the two equations are linear, the preferable method is elimination. Okay, that's what I would prefer. So let's write down the two equations. Okay, what's there to explain again? I'll do it anyway. So basically, we found out the equation of the perpendicular bisector of line AB. Now there is another line which is parallel to AB and is passing through this point. And this line is intersecting the line above at a certain point, which is point C, and we're supposed to find out that point. Okay, so once again, this line is intersecting another line which is parallel to AB, meaning parallel to the line that we get after joining these 2 points, and it's passing through this point. So we want equation of this line. We already have the equation of line L. Now we're supposed to solve them simultaneously. Now the method that I prefer is elimination, not substitution. I prefer elimination, especially when two equations are linear. So here's the first equation, and here is the second equation. Ab kisko kisse multiply kare to get the job done? Let's see. So I can multiply the first equation by 4, and I can multiply the second equation by 5. So what do we get? Let's see. We get 20x plus 16y is equal to 73 times 4. 70 times 4 is 280. 3 times 4 is 12. So हमारे पास आ जाएगा 146, 192. Let me confirm. 73 times 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 7 times 4 is 28. Or 292, sorry. Not 192, 292. Okay. Then if you multiply this by 5, we have minus 20x plus 25y, which is equal to 42 times 5. So that's going to be minus 210. Okay. So 20x minus 20x cancel ho gaya. Let's see what this gives us. 25 plus 16, that gives us 41. And 41y is equal to 292 minus 210, which is equal to 82. And that's it. We have the value of y. Y is equals to 2. And once you have the value of y, find out the value of x. Let's plug in the value of y in any one of the two equations. I'm going to plug it in this equation. So 5x plus 8 equals to 73, which means 5x is equals to 65, which means x is equals to 13. So we have the value of x, we have the value of y. Let's put them together nicely, and that's the answer. 13, 2. There you go. Okay, now I'll take a few questions. Sir, I'm in A1. I'm working on a website, and that is going to be a source which has an AI notes. Okay, you're very welcome to message on Instagram. Sir, I have my mock exam tomorrow. I have done revision once, but I feel unprepared. Any tips? Do past paper questions. Okay, do full length past papers, yearly past papers. Okay, that's where the real learning takes place. Okay, so solve as many yearly past papers as you can. That's the best thing you can do. Now, another question, and I would like you guys to solve this question. In the meantime, I'm just going to go grab some water. Exponential growth, I've done exponential growth. I have done exponential growth already. You will find a stream on it. I think it's been a while since I did it, but I did exponential growth, converting recurring decimals to fractions, and there was something else also. I think surds. I covered all this in a single stream, so make sure to check it out. बेटा मेन टॉपिक्स आप पास पेपर सॉल्व करो, आपको खुद ही आइडिया हो जाएगा. ठीक है, थोड़ा एफर्ट कर लो, you'll figure it out. Now I'm just going to grab some water. I'd like you guys to solve this question. Okay. I have done almost all topical worksheets for O-level math. Is it possible for me to score good? Yeah, definitely. If you've done all topical worksheets, that's great. I'm sure you can do well, but just make sure that you don't neglect yearly past papers altogether. Yearly past papers give you a true picture of where you stand, which is why they're very important. So if you're getting A grade in school mocks consistently, does that mean, yeah, if everything goes well, inshallah, you can expect an A star in CIE. Why not? Okay, so anyone who has solved this question and would like to share their answer? How else can we revise beside past papers? Best thing you can do is past papers. Past papers will give you a true picture of where you stand. Do variants. If you've run out of past papers, then do variants. Solve some old past papers. Obviously skip the questions that are from the topics that are no more part of the syllabus. But your main source of learning should be past papers, especially yearly past papers. This time of the year, your main focus should be yearly past papers if you're preparing for school mocks or anything, whether it's mock, pre-mock, whatever. You should be focusing on yearly past papers. So let's solve this question. the points A, B, and C have coordinates 2, 6, 6, 1, and PQ respectively. Okay. Given that B is the midpoint of AC. Okay, so we have A, which is 2, 6, we have B, which is 6, 1, and we have C, which is PQ. According to the question, B is the midpoint of AC, so we can find out the coordinates of C now. We'll do that. Let's read the question further. Find the equation of the line that passes through C and is perpendicular to AB. Give your answer in the form AX plus BY equals to C. So this is an intermediate difficulty level question, but even then it's fairly easy. So let's find out the midpoint using A and C. Okay, let's find out the midpoint using A and C. ठीक है, ये तो हम सब कर सकते हैं. कैसे करेंगे? We'll do 2 plus P upon 2, comma 6 plus Q upon 2. Now, according to the question, the midpoint coordinates are basically the same as the coordinates of B, which is 6, 1. 4x minus 5y equals to 60. All right, good job, Sarvinas. Hold on to your answer. I think that's correct. We'll see. 2 plus P upon 2 equals to 6. Cross multiply. So 2 plus P is equals to 12, which means P is equals to 10. Okay, so we have the coordinates of P. Just like that, let's find out the coordinates of Q also. Let's find out the value of Q. For Q, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 6 plus Q upon 2 equals to 1, which means 6 plus Q equals to 2, which means Q is equals to 2 minus 6, that's minus 4. So these two together make the coordinates of C, and they are 10, minus 4. Okay? So it's a 5-mark question. So far, we have just found out the coordinates of C. Then the question says that there is a line which is perpendicular to AB and it's passing through C. Okay, so there's a line which is perpendicular to AB and is passing through C, and we need to find out the equation of that line. So remember, in order to find out the equation of a straight line, we want gradient. We can find out the gradient by finding out the gradient of AB, which means 1 minus 6 over 6 minus 2, so that's minus 5 upon 4. But since the line is perpendicular to it, that means the gradient of the line that's perpendicular to it will be 4 upon 5. Okay? Now that we have the gradient, what's the point? The point is 10, minus 4. What do? We put it all together in this format. Y minus y1 is equals to m x minus x1. Y minus minus y1 means y minus minus 4, which will eventually become plus. You can write it as plus immediately, equals to 4 upon 5 into x minus 10. Now, can I leave the answer over here? Of course not, because the question has a specific requirement. If the question has a specific requirement, it is not recommended that you leave your answer in this form. It's best that you write it the way the question wants. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to cross multiply. So 5y plus 20 is equals to 4x minus 40. Now let's see if the answer is correct. The answers that you guys have given. So 5y equals 4x minus 60. Now let's go back and see how the question wants. The question wants ax plus by equals to c. So that means it's going to be, no, wait a minute. I think I have made a mistake somewhere. No, I haven't. So it's going to be minus 4x plus 5y equals to minus 60. Okay, so either this, or you can multiply the entire equation by minus, which will give you 4x minus 5y equals to 60. So this is what the final answer is. Okay. So add math yearly practice for P1 add math from where? Okay, so I've talked about this multiple times. I'll mention it again. I understand that it's a very important concern because the syllabus has changed and now you don't have a lot of relevant practice material. So here's what you should do. When you're solving questions, limit the use of calculator as much as possible. You will notice that in a lot of questions, the question will from the get-go say, do not use a calculator in this question. यहाँ पे तो I think कहीं किसी सवाल में mention नहीं है, but you will find that in polynomials, you will find that in logs maybe, you will find that in multiple places. Okay, and there are some questions where you can't even use a calculator. Like for example, if you're solving quadratics, Let's say it's a question related to discriminant, it's a question which leads to quadratic inequality, so you cannot even use a calculator if you wanted to. So solve those questions, obviously without a calculator, and even in questions where you can, like for example, when you're solving two equations simultaneously, or in a cubic equation, udhar bhi avoid karen use of a calculator. I made a video where I talked about what topics you can expect in paper 1 and what topics you can expect in paper 2. So go over that. And I've also uploaded some non-calculator worksheets that you can practice. And you can download those worksheets from the website. Okay, mathletebysart.com. What do you think about Waqas Khan? I've heard that name. Okay, I know who that is. I don't really have any thoughts. I don't know what you're trying to ask me. So I went from, you're welcome. Circle stream. If you're talking about coordinate geometry of a circle, I've done that already. I've done 2 detailed streams where I've covered the concepts, and I've done past paper questions as well. Not past paper questions, but questions for practice. Anyway, let's resume. Solutions by accurate drawing will not be accepted. So now we're solving some difficult questions. Okay, I want to solve like a few difficult questions. So here is one of those questions. Let's see what this says. It says the points A and B have coordinates -2, 4 and 6, 10 respectively. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the line AB, giving your answer in the form. So notice that we have a specific form in which the examiner wants us to give the answer. So we better give it in this form only. So first things first, let's find out the midpoint or the gradient. It's up to you what sequence you want to follow. -2 plus 6 upon 2, 4 plus 10 upon 2. My topical worksheets are not, for AdMaths they are. For AdMaths, जो मैं non-calculator worksheets की बात कर रहा हूँ, they're available. But the other topical worksheets are not on the website, but I'll post them on the website soon, inshallah. So, -2 plus 6 is 4, 4 upon 2 is 2, 10 plus 4 is 14, 14 upon 2 is 7. So we have the point through which the line is going to pass. Let's find out the gradient of line AB. So that would be 10 minus 4 over 6 minus -2. So 10 minus 4 is 6. 6 minus -2 is 8. So that, when simplified, is 3 upon 4, which means the gradient of the perpendicular bisector of AB is going to be -4 upon 3. It's mathletebysart.com. Okay. Now, y minus 7 is equal to -4 upon 3 x minus 2. Let's cross multiply and give it the way the question wants. So we have 3y minus 21 equals to -4x plus 8. So let's write it the way the question wants. So that's going to be all the terms on the left hand side. So that means 4x plus 3y minus 21 minus 8 is minus 29 equals to 0. And this, I believe, is the answer. So how can a line be perpendicular to AB and pass C as B is the midpoint? Can you draw a diagram to explain? Okay, which question are you talking about? If you're talking about this question, we are going to draw a diagram for this question, okay? Now, part B. The point C has coordinates 5, P and lies on the perpendicular bisector of AB. Find the value of B. So pretty simple question. Whenever a point is on a certain line, that means you can plug in the x coordinate and get the y coordinate, or you can plug in the y coordinate and get the x coordinate as well. So here is the equation. Let's plug in x as 5 and find out the value of y. And let's plug in y as p also. So 4 times 5 plus 3p minus 29 equals to 0. So 3p is equals to 29 minus 20, which means 3p is equals to 9, which means p is equals to 3. There you go. Acha, the previous question. Let's see, what was the previous question that you're talking about? So you're saying, how can a line be perpendicular to AB and pass through C? No, this is not the last question. We'll solve 2-3 more difficult questions and then that's it. So let me explain how this works. अच्छा, AB का gradient आ रहा था -5/4, which means it's a downward sloping line. So here's A, here's B, here's C. Now the question says, given that B is the midpoint of AC, find the equation of the line that passes through C and is perpendicular to AB. So how is that not possible? Here's a line which is passing through C and is perpendicular to AB. Okay, so C से pass कर रही है और AB जो line है उसके perpendicular है. There we go. Okay, so I hope it makes sense. Here is the line AB. Okay, here's another line which is perpendicular to it and it's passing through C. Okay, now, given that the line AB bisects the line CD. Okay, what's the difference between perpendicular bisector and just bisect? Bisect करने का मतलब होता है that it's passing through the midpoint. Okay, and perpendicular bisector means that it is cutting it into half as well. But in this question, there is an interesting situation to note. It is given that line AB bisects the line CD. अच्छा, AB कहाँ पे है? AB ये रही line. इसका gradient है 3/4, so it's an upward sloping line, something like this perhaps. Okay. And notice that the point C that the question is talking about lies on the perpendicular bisector of line AB. So that means ये इसका perpendicular bisector है, and this is where point C is. Okay. Then the question says, it is given that line AB bisects the line CD. So that means here is line CD, and what line AB is doing is that it's bisecting it, meaning that it's cutting it into half. So this is the line CD. इसको मैं अलग से highlight कर देता हूँ. Okay. And what line AB is doing is that line AB is basically bisecting the line CD, which means that it must be passing through the midpoint of AB. Okay, which means what? Which means that it must be passing through the midpoint of AB. And if you notice, we already know what the coordinates of the midpoint of AB are. They are 2, 7. Okay, so visualization skills are very important over here. Please don't take this lightly. Okay, I don't need to make a diagram or anything. I can just do it directly. That's not possible. So the midpoint coordinates are 2, 7. Okay. So once again, I'll explain. Here is the line AB, which is bisecting the line CD. Okay, so CD is just this part of the line, and line AB is bisecting it. That means line AB is cutting line CD into half. So that means the point where it's cutting must be the midpoint of CD. Now notice we've already found out the coordinates of C, haven't we? The coordinates of C are 5, 3. As far as the coordinates of D are concerned, we don't know what they are, but now we can find out the coordinates of D. So 5 plus x upon 2 is equal to the x coordinate of the midpoint, which is equal to 2, and 3 plus y upon 2 is equal to the y coordinate of the midpoint, which is 7. Okay, so what's the logic over here? I'll write that down also. The logic is that the line AB is passing through the midpoint of CD. Okay. Now 2 times 2 is 4. 5 plus x equals to 4. X is equals to -1. 3 plus y is equals to 14. Y is equals to 14 minus 3, which is equal to 11. Let's write the answer nicely. -1, 11. These are your coordinates of D. There you go. How did we get the midpoint? We already figured it out above. We have the coordinates of A and B. When we were finding out the equation of the perpendicular bisector, we already figured out the coordinates of the midpoint. Difference between bisect and perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular bisector is a line that not only cuts it into half, but also makes a 90-degree angle. Whereas bisect basically means to cut into half. जैसे हमारा angle bisector होता है, bisect का मतलब होता है कि सिर्फ half में cut करना. Simple as that. ठीक हो गया? Okay, now let's move on. अच्छा, अब मुझे आप लोगों के साथ एक वेक्टर्स रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन करना है जो कि आजकल काफ़ी आ रहा है. दिस इज़ फेयरली इजी. I'd like to solve this question. Can't it be after Seri? I don't mind streaming after Seri. I'm usually up till 9 or 10. So we can have a poll, I think. We can have a poll. कि कौन सा time अच्छा है for streaming? And you guys can give me your input now also. Do you prefer before Seri or after Seri? In fact, let me just do a poll right now. Just a minute. Time for live stream before Seri. हाँ स्कूल होगा तो फिर क्या करेंगे exactly आप लोग? Before Seri, after Seri. Okay, you guys can give me your input. I'm pretty sure before Seri is the more dominating opinion, but just to make it official. Anyway, so here's another question which we're going to solve. And so Seri ke baad agar school jana hai, how can you sleep? Yeah, I know. So I think majority of the students will say before Seri. वैसे आप लोग अभी स्कूल जा रहे हैं? मॉक्स के लिए जा रहे होंगे, right? When do I sleep? In Ramzan, I barely sleep. I sleep in bits and pieces. You know, आधा घंटा यहाँ, 1-1.5 घंटा इधर सो गया. So that's what my schedule is. That's the beauty of Ramzan. You can survive on less sleep, less food, less sleep, and you can function just as fine. So which chapter will you be solving in my next stream? Inshallah, I'll be doing maths and I'll be doing either statistics or algebra related word problems. ठीक है, इन दोनों में से कोई एक. Anyway, so I'm going to solve this because this has a bit of modulus element in it. Yeah, these are all past paper questions. Today we're just solving past paper questions. And we are supposed to find out the point of intersection between this line and the two lines over here. Now, what does the question mean by two lines? Because x plus y equals to 2 is basically inside the modulus. Okay, so x plus y is inside the modulus. So that means as far as x plus 2y equals to 10 is concerned, that's one equation. Okay, but then when it comes to x plus y inside the modulus, which is equal to 2, these will be two separate equations. One would be x plus y equals to 2, and the other would be x plus y equals to minus 2. Okay, so first what we're going to do is we're going to solve, इसको हम 2 बोल देते हैं. ठीक है, इसको हम equation number 2 बोल देते हैं. थोड़ी हम जगह efficiently इस्तेमाल करते हैं. इसको यहाँ drag कर लेते हैं और इसको हम equation number 3 बोल देते हैं. Okay, so altogether how many equations do we have? We have 3 equations. Okay, and line 1 is intersecting with line 2 and 3. So first let's solve 1 and 2 simultaneously. Okay, so we have x plus 2y equals to 10, and then we have x plus y, which is equal to minus 2. Now upon subtracting these two equations, x will get eliminated. 2y minus y is y. 10 minus minus 2 is equals to 12. So that means we have the y coordinate. Now let's find out the x coordinate. So for the x coordinate, I'll plug this y coordinate into this. So x plus 2 times y, that means 2 times 12, which is 24. So x is equals to 10 minus 24, which is minus 14. So what do we have? We have the coordinates of a, इसको हम a बोल देते हैं, 12 comma minus 14. So by solving 1 and 2 simultaneously, what do we get? We get the one point of intersection. ठीक है, अभी इसको हम visualize भी कर लेंगे. अच्छा. Okay, I just realized मैंने order उल्टा कर दिया. It's supposed to be minus 14 comma 12. Can you repeat what modulus means exactly, as in the symbol in general? Symbol in general basically means that you are just concerned with the magnitude. Okay, so it could be positive, it could be negative. So, but you're only concerned with the magnitude, which means you're only concerned with positive. Yeah, I fixed them. Thank you for pointing that out. That's what modulus basically means. Okay, modulus basically means कि दो point के दरमियान distance क्या है. Okay, अब वो distance किसी भी direction में हो, it doesn't matter. it's just distance, it's always going to be positive. That's what modulus basically means. Okay, minus 14 comma 12, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Sadia. It doesn't matter whether you call one A and the other B. Ultimately, you're going to get the same answer. Now, let's solve 1 and 3. You're right. You're right. Good job, Musa. Someone's paying attention. Actually, a lot of you are paying attention today. Kafi aap galtiyan nikal rahe hain meri, which is good. X plus 2y is equals to 10. That's equation number 1. And now equation number 2 is x plus y is equals to 2. So let's subtract the 2. X gets eliminated. We have the y coordinate, which is equal to 8. Now let's plug in this y coordinate into this equation. So we have x plus 2 times 8, which is 16, which is equal to 10. Kal exam hai? Haan, jabhi. Jabhi sab itna attentive hai aaj. Okay, so we have the coordinates of b minus 6 comma 8. Yeah, it could be. You know, it could be because of Ramzan. So now that we have the coordinates of a and b, okay, we are still not done. We're now supposed to show that C lies on the perpendicular bisector of line AB. Okay, now this is the easy part of the question. Okay, so we haven't gotten to the difficult part. The difficult part is basically this. Okay, now I'm going to challenge you guys to first solve this yourself and then I'll solve it myself. Okay, so we need to find out the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB. So let's start by finding out the gradient of line AB. I'll zoom out so you can see the entire question. So that's going to be 8 minus 12 actually, minus 6, minus, which will become plus 14. So 8 minus 12 is minus 4, minus 6 plus 14 is positive 8, which means minus 1 upon 2 is the gradient, which means the gradient of the perpendicular bisector is going to be 2. Now let's find out the coordinates of the midpoint, which means minus 14 minus 6 upon 2. We add, but because the x coordinate has a negative sign of its own, it eventually gets subtracted. You add the y coordinates, divide by 2, so minus 20 upon 2, that's minus 10. 20 upon 2, that is 10. That's a little too good to be true. Minus 20 upon 2, 20 upon 2. So not bad, we'll take it. Yeah. So 10, 10 are the coordinates, minus 10, 10 are the coordinates. So y minus 10 is equals to 2, x minus minus 10, which will eventually become plus. So y minus 10 is equals to 2x plus 20, which means y is equals to 2x plus 30. Now this is not the end of the question. We're supposed to show that minus 5 comma 20 lies on the perpendicular bisector of AB. So that means if I plug in these coordinates, the left hand side should be equal to the right hand side. So is minus 20 equal to minus 10 plus 30? Yes, it is. 20 equals to 20. So there you go. That is the answer. Now, any questions? If yes, feel free to ask. If not, I would like you guys to solve part B. ठीक है, पार्ट बी सॉल्व करने से पहले मैं एक काम करता हूँ. मैं इसका एक स्क्रीनशॉट लेके यहाँ पे लगा देता हूँ. ये आप खुद सॉल्व करें. I'll give you guys a few minutes to work this out. You will have to use the concept of vectors over here. Okay, you'll have to... ठीक है, that's fine, nothing to worry about. I took out equation of line using... देखो, ऐसा हो नहीं सकता कि if you use one method, you get the wrong answer. You should get the correct answer. You probably made a calculation error or something of that sort. That's why you got the wrong answer. अच्छा, इसको सॉल्व करने के लिए I will give you guys 4 minutes. 4 marks, 4 minutes. See if you can solve it in 4 minutes. If you can, that's great. If not, I'm going to solve it anyway. Detailed video on IGCSE Math, telling in detail what is... बेटा ये रहा सवाल. ठीक है. Every relevant information is right in front of you. कैलकुलस बेटा एंड में करेंगे. अभी हम छोटे छोटे टॉपिक्स को ज़रा निपटा रहे हैं so that we have time left for calculus. Okay. Coordinates. Oh, okay. Coordinates. हाँ, coordinates तो मैं दिखा दूँ आपको. Coordinates किसके चाहिए आपको? मैं बताता हूँ किसके चाहिए होंगे. Coordinates आपको चाहिए होंगे. चलें हम टाइमर पॉज कर देते हैं इतने. Coordinates आपको midpoint के चाहिए होंगे for sure. ठीक है, so ये midpoint के coordinates आ गए. C के आपको कोऑर्डिनेट्स चाहिए होंगे. C है -520. A और B के कोऑर्डिनेट्स नहीं चाहिए होंगे आपको. ठीक है, चलें अब मैं इसको वापस से टाइमर लगा रहा हूँ. There you go. Yes, I will be covering. So I'll be streaming very often, inshallah, and we'll be covering majority of the aim is to cover every topic, but we'll end up covering majority of the topics, inshallah. So I got one coordinate of D as -20, -10. ठीक है, let's see if that's the correct answer. ठीक है, that is the correct answer. Carry on. $10.50 -20 -10. Good job, Yusuf. Good job. This is for O levels or just? This is बेटा आप लोग टाइटल क्यों नहीं पढ़ते? टाइटल में क्या लिखा हुआ है? What does the title suggest? That is correct. -20 -10 and 10, 50 is the correct answer. Okay, so I'll just wait for one more minute and then I'll solve. The main challenge, the question was to identify that we needed to use vectors. Yes, we need to use vectors over here. Whenever you have a question like this, okay, whenever you have a question like this, when the question says that the distance is 3 times or 2 times, stuff like that, that means you have to use vectors. And just make sure that you know very well that you can expect vectors to be tested alongside coordinate geometry. Okay, so you can expect vectors alongside coordinate geometry, you can expect differentiation alongside coordinate geometry. Okay, so I'm going to solve this now. And what's really important before you solve this question is that you need to make a rough sketch of what exactly is going on. So notice that AB, I think the gradient we got for AB is negative, which suggests that it's a downward sloping line, something like this. Okay. Now we know very well that M is the midpoint of AB, that is from where the perpendicular bisector is drawn. So here's the perpendicular bisector. Now the point C lies on the perpendicular bisector. C ke kya coordinates hain? C ke coordinates hain -520. So that means if I take C to be somewhere over here, okay, doesn't matter where you take it to be. Let's say it's somewhere over here. Now the question says the distance CD is 3 times the distance of CM. So that means one possibility, okay, so here's one possibility. One possibility is that D is somewhere over here, okay? And the distance CD is 3 times the distance of CM. Okay, so what does this look like? This means that the vector CD is actually 3 times CM. But before we do this, before we carry on with this, notice that the question says find the possible coordinates of D. That means it's likely that there is another possibility as well. So what's the other possibility? Let's see. Notice that we took D to be in the same direction as M, meaning CM is in one direction and we took D to be in the same direction. We just made the distance 3 times as much. But the question doesn't say anything like that. It could be in this direction as well. Like for example, it's possible So let's clear this. And let's clear this also. Let's delete, let's erase D from here. This is for both. This is for O-level add maths and IGCSE add maths as well. It's not for math, but read the title. Where does it say math? It says add maths, okay? So read the title of the stream. Now, one possibility is that D is somewhere over here, which suggests that CD is now 3 times of MC. Okay, so these are the two possibilities. One is that CD is 3 times of CM, and there is another possibility, or CD is 3 times of the vector MC. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to solve this, and we have to find out the coordinates of D, which basically means that we need to find out OD. Okay, in vector terms, if you want the coordinates of D or any point, that means O with that point, position vector basically. Now, how do we split open CD? Okay, what's the rule that we can use over here? We can use subtraction, and OD minus OC is equals to 3 times of CM, which means OM minus OC. ठीक है? अब OD minus OC is equals to, हमें क्या चाहिए? हमें OD चाहिए. So we're gonna make OD the subject. Okay. So OM minus OC. Let's see if we can figure that out. OM minus OC हम निकाल लेते हैं on the side. So OM minus OC, which is basically vector M, which is basically vector CM. Yeah. So I'll work this out on the side here. OM minus OC. M के क्या coordinates हैं? M के coordinates हैं minus 10, 10. What about the coordinates of C? Minus 5, 20. Now when you simplify this, you get minus 10 minus minus 5, which becomes minus 5. 10 minus 20, which becomes minus 10. Now what's this? This is basically vector CM. Okay, this is basically vector CM. Now, where did O come from? Please explain. O is, so basically this is the concept of vectors. Vector CD can be written as OD minus OC. This is the subtraction rule. Just like that, CM can be written as OM minus OC. Once again, the subtraction rule. Okay? So 3 times of CM, which means minus 5 minus 10. Now what do we want? We want OD. OD को subject बनाते हैं. OD is equals to, इसको भी multiply कर देते हैं 3 से, so that's minus 15 minus 30 plus OC. We already know what the coordinates of C are. So OD is equals to minus 15 minus 30 plus the coordinates of OC, which are minus 5 and 20. Let's add them up, see what do we get. Minus 5 plus minus 15 minus 5, that's minus 20, and minus 30 plus 20, that's minus 10. So this is one possible coordinates of D. Okay, this is one possible coordinates of D, which is minus 20 minus 10. ठीक है, इसका कोई shortcut नहीं है. Don't look for an easy way out. These are difficult questions and they're supposed to be done systematically the way that I'm doing it. Okay. Now the other possibility. The other possibility is this right here, where CD is 3 times of MC. अच्छा, अब इसके लिए ज़्यादा working करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Why? Because we know what vector CM is. Vector CM is minus 5 minus 10, which means vector MC, for that we'll just change the sign. It's going to be 5 and 10. Okay. So 3 times 5 and 10. And we know how to split open vector CD. That's going to be OD minus OC. So once again, let's make OD the subject. So that's going to be 15 and 30. And in it, we're going to add the coordinates of C, which are minus 5 and 20. Minus 5 and 20. Now let's add them up. So OD is equals to 15 minus 5. That's equal to 10. 30 plus 20. That's equal to 50. And finally, the coordinates of D are 10, 50. So these are the two coordinates of D. This question like this has been tested very often actually. We have another question very similar to this. वो भी हम इंशाल्लाह solve करेंगे. So I'm going to try and solve at least 2-3 more questions before we call it a day. This is from May-June 2021, paper 1, variant 3. So quite recent. Okay, so not that old. Don't think that it's irrelevant. It's very recent. अच्छा, अब मैं आपको इसका एक summary दे देता हूँ. Basically, problem ये हो रही है that the question says we're supposed to find out the two possible coordinates of D. Okay, and what do we know? We know that there are 2 points, basically C, M, and D, and the distance CD is 3 times the distance of CM. And we haven't told in which direction, but we just know that it's on a certain straight line. So CD is 3 times of CM. So this could be one position where D can be. And the other is that CD is on the opposite side. D and M are on the opposite sides of C. So D is on one side, okay, and the distance is 3 times as much it is compared to M. So this is the reason why we have 2 different solutions, and we need to use vectors over here. Okay, so can't we use distance formula? You're very welcome to try using the distance formula. You'll notice that you will get an unbelievably difficult equation with 2 unknowns. एक x भी आपका unknown होगा, y भी आपका unknown होगा. So you're very welcome to try though, okay, and see if it works. Anyway, so here's another question. Let's solve this. The points 5, -4 and 11, 6 are such that AC is the diagonal of a square. Now, कुछ properties हैं coordinate geometry की जो आप लोगों को पता होनी चाहिए. वो क्या है मैं आप लोगों को बता देता हूँ. ये notes by the way portal पे uploaded हैं. You guys can check. So as far as the square is concerned, not portal, sorry, on the website. Okay, so you'll find these notes on the website. You can download. They're all available for free. So as far as the square is concerned, the diagonals are equal in length, the diagonals intersect at midpoint, and the diagonals are perpendicular. Meaning that if I draw diagonals over here, not only will they intersect at midpoint, they will also intersect at 90 degrees. Okay, so that is one very important property related to diagonals of a square. Okay, so with that in mind, let's solve this. But the thing is, these are notes from this year, okay? So I'm teaching differentiation right now. As soon as I'm done teaching it, I'll update the notes as well. Okay, so I'll add these notes as we go along. Is this stream helpful for IGCSE? No, it's not. It's not. It's unnecessarily difficult. Now, AC is what? AC is the diagonal of the square, and what do we have to do? We have to find out the length AC, and in this question you can use a calculator. So we use the distance formula. I hope everyone knows what the distance formula is. So we do 11 minus 5, the whole thing squared, plus 6 minus -4, the whole thing squared. So 8. Are you sure about that? 11 minus 5 is 6, 6 squared plus 10 squared. I don't think you get a whole number. So it's 166, and what's that? Yeah, so you can use a calculator in this question. So I've marked this question as such that you cannot use you can use a calculator, and I think this is probably the reason why. So 11 minus 5 is 6, 6 squared 36 plus 100, square root of the answer. Yep, you're right, 2 root 34 or 11.66. So it's up to you how you give your answer because the question is silent. So you can give your answer how you like it. Okay, now let's see what's next. The coordinates of the center E of the square are 8, y. Find the value of y. अच्छा, अब इधर भी ज़रा थोड़ा विजुलाइज अगर हम कर लें तो फ़ायदा ही होगा. ये एक स्क्वायर है, ठीक है. मैंने इसको जानबूझ के थोड़ा टिल्टेड बनाया ताकि हम ये ना अज्यूम कर लें कि the lengths are horizontal and vertical. Okay, so this is A, this is B, this is C, and this is D. Yeah. Now let's see what the question says. The question says that the coordinates of E are the center of the square 8, y. So how will I find out the coordinates of E? Notice the property is that the midpoint is the diagonals intersect at midpoint. So we just need to find out the midpoint of this diagonal. So we'll do 5 plus 11, this is E by the way, 5 plus 11 upon 2, comma, minus 4 plus 6 upon 2. So 5 plus 11 is 16, 16 upon 2 is 8. We can tell that the x coordinate is 8, minus 4 plus 6 is 2, 2 upon 2 is 1. So that means y is equals to 1. There you go. Find the equation of the diagonal BD. Okay. Now all the properties of square are coming in handy over here, and especially the diagonal. So we will first find out the gradient of line AC. Okay, so do we have enough information to do that? Yes, we do, because we have the coordinates. So 6 minus minus 4 over 11 minus 5. 6 minus minus 4 is 10. 11 minus 5 is 6, which is equal to 5 upon 3. So these are the coordinates of the, this is the midpoint of AC. Okay. What do we want? We want the equation of the diagonal BD. So that means the gradient of the diagonal BD will be minus 3 upon 5. अच्छा आप लोग देख सकते हैं कि हमने ना इसको सही नहीं बनाया, roughly बनाया, because AC should have been an upward sloping line, but it's okay, we'll get away with it. You know, we just make a rough sketch to be able to better visualize the situation that we're in. And the point that we need, we can use the coordinates of E. They are 8, 1. Let's put this together. Y minus 1 is equals to minus 3 upon 5 into x minus 8. We can leave it over here because the question has no specific format in which it's asking us to write down the equation. So this is good enough. Now so far it's an easy question, but this is where it gets tricky. So here also, I will give you guys a couple of minutes to try it yourself. I'll zoom out so you can see why we put E coordinates, because we want a point through which the line is passing. If you look at line BD, what's the one point through which this line is passing? It's passing through E. Okay, there's no other point that it's passing. Now you might say that it's passing through B and it's passing through D, and you're right, but the problem is we don't have the coordinates of B or the coordinates of D for that matter. Okay, so I'll give you guys 2 minutes to solve this question. 2 minutes each, or I'll give you guys 3 minutes to solve this question. So you kind of look like, okay. Yeah, nobody has ever said that. B part 1 फिर से बता दें. The coordinates of the center E of the square are 8, y. So देखो, जो diagonal का midpoint होता है ना, वो square का center होता है. Okay, so what's the diagonal? AC is the diagonal. That means the midpoint of AC will be the center of the square. So just go ahead and find out the coordinates of the midpoint. Hey sir, thanks for helping us in IGCSE. Yes, I will. I'm starting, inshallah. The reason why I'm not doing M1, S1 streams is because it's not that lengthy. It's something that we can start in March, and it is March, and cover it by the end of March. Yeah. आज मैंने कितनी तरावी पढ़ी मैं तो नहीं बता रहा. मैं कोरंगी से नहीं, I don't live in कोरंगी. क्यों आपने मुझे कोरंगी में देखा है कभी? Any tips for upcoming exams? Study. That's the best tip that I can give you. Okay, somebody knows where I live. That's great. Do I play any PC games? No, I don't get the time to. Hey, I'm your neighbor? Really? Did you hear about February, March at Math P1? Yes, I heard about it. I haven't seen the paper yet, but I heard about it. Yeah, was it difficult? Okay. I have seen you playing outside. Acha, fir chalo, next time I see you, you're very welcome to meet. Have I heard of Sir Waqas Khan? I've heard of him, but I don't know what else you are trying to get out of me. But I've definitely heard of him. And that's it. That's the end of it. O-level inshallah very soon, most likely tomorrow or day after. I will be streaming statistics or algebra word problems. Most likely algebra. Most like I'm going to be streaming both, but tomorrow I'll be doing one of the two, obviously. Okay, so time's almost up. Anyone who has been able to solve this question, please let me know. There was a 9-mark coordinate geometry question. Probably there was a 9-mark question on coordinate geometry because it had circles in it. So if you go through the specimen paper, you will notice that coordinate geometry is something that's tested very often. And now that it has equation of circles, so you can expect that in paper 1 as well. हाँ इसी टाइम पे इंशाल्लाह अगर कल की तो कल भी इसी टाइम पे करूँगा ठीक है EB is equals to minus 3i minus 4j and ED is equals to 3i plus 4j. Achha, you're not supposed to give it in vector form. You're just supposed to write it in column vector form. Okay, not in IJ form, in column vector form. Okay. It wasn't of circle. Okay, I haven't seen the paper honestly, so I can't say anything. But when I see the paper, I'll let you know what my thoughts are. Okay, so I think the February-March paper is very important for us, for AdMath students, because looking at the February-March paper, we can further get an idea what topics are tested in paper 1, what topics are tested in paper 2. So let's solve this. Given that the x-coordinate of B is less than the x-coordinate of D. Now, why is the question telling this to us? It's telling us so that we label the square accordingly. We label it in a way that B is to the left and D is to the right. Like for example, ये गलत है. ठीक है इसको होना चाहिए था पता है क्या this should be A B C D. Okay, that's what the question is trying to tell us over here. Okay, so somebody earlier asked that how do we know which is which. So if you're in a situation like this, so the question is clearly specifying which point should be where, only then you can tell exactly where the point is going to be. Or tabhi exactly nahi, it's going to be roughly, but if the question didn't say anything like this, it could be either way. So given that the x-coordinate of B is less than the x-coordinate of D. Now, if you look at A and C, so A is minus 5, 4. So let's assume that A is somewhere over here. Now, as far as C is concerned, C is 11, 6. That means it's towards the right and it's up as well. So it's on the right and it's above point A. So this is basically what the square looks like. Something like this. Okay, now I'm not drawing it horizontally and vertically, janbujke, because the question doesn't say that the lines are horizontal or vertical. Okay, so this is a very rough square that I have drawn, and it should do the job. Now, the question says that B, the x-coordinate of B is less than the x-coordinate of D. So where should B be? मैं B को यहाँ पे नहीं mark कर सकता, because if I mark B over here and D over here, the x-coordinate of B will be greater than the x-coordinate of D. So that means the only position that makes sense for B is right here. Now the x-coordinate of B is less than the x-coordinate of D. Okay? अच्छा, अब एक काम करते हैं. Here is the diagonal. Okay? And remember the property that we know, and that property is that diagonals intersect at midpoint. Okay? Diagonals intersect at midpoint. These are, there are notes for coordinate geometry. You can download the notes directly from the website. Now, as far as the center point is concerned, the center point is E, which is 8, 1. अच्छा अभी तक किसी ने nobody gave me the answer to this. Yusuf gave me the answer, but I'm afraid that's wrong. What we're supposed to do is we're supposed to find out the vector EB and we're supposed to find out the vector ED. KGS join kar nahi, but I'm quite happy with where I am. That is basically nowhere. I'm not teaching in a school, and I like it that way. So anyway, coordinates of C. What are the coordinates of C? Kangya, C ke coordinates 11, 6. Achha, for as long as I'm solving this question, I'm not going to read any comments because this requires a lot of concentration. So how do we go from E to C? And you'll be surprised to figure out the topic that's being tested over here. How do you go from E to C? The way that you go from E to C is that you go 5 units to the right, okay, and you go 5 units up. Yeah, no, actually 3 units to the right, 8 or 11, you know? So you go 3 units to the right and you go 5 units up. So I'll explain this again. You go 3 units to the right and you go 5 units up, okay? Now, if I want to go from E to B, which will, by the way, be the vector as well. So EB vector kaise nikalenge? Here's how we're going to find out the vector EB. So we are going to go 3 units up. Okay, so we're rotating it 90 degree anti-clockwise. Okay, we're rotating it 90 degree anti-clockwise. We're going to go 3 units up and we're going to go 5 units towards the left. Now, if we're going 3 units up, that means the y component of the vector is positive 3. Why? Because we're going 3 units up. And if we're going 5 units towards the left, that means the x component will be minus 5. Why? Because we're going 5 units left. Okay, so this is what vector EB is. Now, as far as vector ED is concerned, what do you think vector ED will be equal to? So if you think about it, vector ED is simply the opposite of vector EB. Okay, so the vector ED is basically minus times of vector EB. You can figure that out just by visualizing. ED is the opposite of EB. So ED is in this direction, EB is in this direction. So that means vector ED is going to be equal to minus times of the vector EB, which is minus 5 and 3. So minus 5 is 5 and minus into 3 is minus 3. And there you go. That's vector ED for you. Okay, so what are your thoughts on this question? Aasan hai? Mushkil hai? What do you say? Why not OB minus OE for EB? OB minus OE. Problem is we don't have the coordinates of B. Problem is we don't have the coordinates of B. Okay. अगर B के coordinates होते फिर तो कोई tension की बात ही नहीं थी. Acha, what a horrible sum. Okay, that's a nice way to put it. Sir, can you explain why did we move 3 units up and 5 units left for the vector EB? So basically, remember the diagonals intersect at 90 degrees. So if you look at this point and if you look at this point, what's in between the two? It's 90 degree rotation. Okay, it's a 90 degree rotation and it's a 90 degree anti-clockwise rotation. So remember I said that you'll be surprised to see the topic that's being tested here. The topic that's being tested is actually transformation, rotation basically. Okay, so it's like E is the center and we need to rotate C 90 degree anti-clockwise. Okay, now you could find D this way as well by simply rotating the point C with center E 90 degree clockwise. ठीक है, उससे भी हो सकता है. So rotation के लिए, if you guys know, I have that weird sign that we use. Okay, so you can use that sign as well. So just make sure that you know the concept of transformation very well. I'll give you a recap again. So basically, to go from E to C, we're going 3 units to the left and we're going 5 units to the right. Correct? 3 units to the right and 5 units up. Okay, so 3 units to the right and 5 units up. If I rotate this 90 degree anti-clockwise, that means now instead of going 3 units right, we'll go 3 units up. Instead of going 5 units up, we'll go 5 units left. So if I go 3 units up, that means the y component is positive 3. And if I go 5 units left, that means the x component is minus 5. That's it. Asymptotes. Yeah, we'll do asymptotes. Don't worry about it. Like I said, asymptotes are not exactly a deal breaker. It's just 1 or 2 marks maximum. We'll do them, inshallah. All these topics we'll cover before we have the CI exam. Okay. Now, here is another question, perhaps the last question, which we're going to solve. And then I do encourage you guys to solve the remaining questions. Okay, I do encourage you guys to solve the remaining questions. There was, like, I would really encourage you to solve this question. Okay, this is very similar to the question that I just solved. And yeah, so let's solve this question. Or maybe after this we can do one more, but not more than that. Anyway, the points A and B have coordinates 2, 5 and 10, minus 15 respectively. The point P lies on the perpendicular bisector of the line AB. The y coordinate of P is 9. Please show question 14. Here it is. Here it is. बेटा आप stream को आगे पीछे करके देख सकते हैं. Okay. Do that so that we can save some time and get as much done as possible. So we need to find out, first of all, the equation of perpendicular bisector. So let's find out the equation of perpendicular bisector. That's minus 15 minus 5 over 10 minus 2. So minus 15 minus 5 is minus 20. 10 minus 2 is 8. Upon simplifying, what do we get? Upon simplifying, we get minus, I think we can simplify using the table of 4. So minus 5 upon 2, which means that the gradient of perpendicular bisector will be 2 upon 5. Now we need a point through which the perpendicular bisector is going to pass. That's the midpoint as always. 2 plus 10 upon 2, 5 plus minus 15 upon 2. 2 plus 10 is 12, 12 upon 2 is 6, 5 minus 15 is minus 10, minus 10 upon 2 is minus 5. Now let's put this all together. Let's put this all together and find the equation. So y minus minus 5, which will make it plus 5, equals to 2 upon 5 into x minus 6. Let's cross multiply and write it nicely. So 4024, it's not. Okay, wait, what's that? Okay, anyway, I'll take your questions once I'm done with this. So 5y plus 25 is equals to 2x minus 12. Now we're only supposed to find out the x coordinate of P. We're given the y coordinate, we're supposed to find out the x coordinate. So irrespective, let's write it nicely. 5y is equals to 2x minus 12 minus 25, that's minus 37. Okay, so let's plug in y equals to 9, minus 9 actually. So 5 times minus 9 is equals to 2x minus 37. So minus 45 is equals to 2x minus 37, which means minus 45 plus 37 is equal to 2x. So 45 minus 37 is what? Is 5 plus 3, 8. So 2x equals to minus 8, which means x equals to minus 4. So not bad for how many marks? For 5 marks. I think it's a very good deal. Now this is the main reason why I wanted to solve this question. The point R is the reflection of P in the line AB. Okay, so AB is an upward sloping line. Okay, so A has coordinates 2, 5 and B has coordinates 10, minus 15. Okay, no, actually it's a downward sloping line. Yeah, so that means here's A, so here is B. Now, the point P lies on the perpendicular bisector of the line AB. And here the question says the point R is the reflection of P in the line AB. Okay, अब reflection भी आ गया. Okay, reflection भी आ गया और वो भी आ गया. Rotation भी आ गया. Now, let's visualize, because if you don't visualize, you won't be able to solve this question. Point R is a reflection of P, and P is a point which lies on the perpendicular bisector. So P is perhaps somewhere over here. Okay, let's assume P is somewhere over here. Now, where do you expect R to be? R will be somewhere over here. Why? Because it's reflected. Now, if you remember reflection, in reflection, the image moves perpendicularly. Okay, so if, for example, this is the object and this is a mirror, and you reflect this object along this line, so the image will be formed in the same distance on the opposite side. Okay, the same perpendicular distance on the opposite side. So the question is, we have the coordinates of P, they are minus 4, minus 9. How do I find out the coordinates of R? Question for you guys. Let's see how well you've understood this concept. How do we find out the coordinates of R? So Vishesh, the question that you have asked is Not a coordinate geometry question. It's more of a differentiation integration question. Using midpoint, that's correct. We will use the midpoint. Now, what's the midpoint? The midpoint, we have probably worked it out somewhere. It's 6 comma minus 5. So if R is a reflection of P, that means it will be equidistant from the line AB, which means that the midpoint of P and R is 6 comma minus 5. Okay, so here is minus 4 plus x upon 2 and minus 9 plus y upon 2. And this is basically equal to 6 comma minus 5. Okay, so I'll make a note over here why we're doing this. Reason is that the midpoint of P and R is M. Why? Because R is a reflection. Okay, R is a reflection, therefore the midpoint of P and R is M. So minus 4 plus x upon 2 equals to 6, which means minus 4 plus x equals to 12, which means x equals to 12 plus 4, which is 16, and minus 9 plus y upon 2 equals to minus 5, which means if you solve, minus 9 plus y equals to minus 10, y is equals to minus 10 plus 9, which means it's minus 1. Okay, I appreciate that, but please stop spamming. And that's the answer. So 16 comma minus 1 are the coordinates of R. Sir, can you please? Yeah, I will share the notes. Okay, so the notes are being updated as I'm teaching those topics. I don't want to share my notes from last year. That's because there has been a syllabus change. So I could do that. I could simply share my notes from last year, but because there's a syllabus change, they're not entirely relevant. Although for the most part they are, but not entirely. Sir, does the transformation technique only works for squares? The reason why it works for squares is because the diagonal intersects at 90 degrees. So that is why you have to rotate it 90 degrees. The diagonals do not intersect at 90 degrees for any other shape other than a rhombus. Okay, so it will also work on a rhombus. Like for example, rhombus का इस point से अगर आपको इस point के coordinates चाहिए, so just rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, so tomorrow most likely we are going to stream math, and the topic that I will be streaming will be, like I said, it's either statistics. Okay, I'm gonna have to put you in timeout now, or algebra word problems. Okay, one of the two, either statistics or algebra word problems. Okay, of math. Sir, will you? I have already covered coordinate geometry of a circle. I did 2 detailed streams of coordinate geometry of a circle. Please make sure to check it out. Okay, you'll find the notes alongside with it as well. Coordinate geometry of a circle here. So I've streamed the concepts as well as practice questions, everything basically. And I've given some practice worksheets as well alongside. So make sure to check it out. Okay. When did I stream this? I streamed this on, let me see if I've written the date. Okay, I have a bad habit of not writing the date, so I don't know when I did the stream, but I did it. I've done it. Okay, long story short, I've done it. I appreciate that. So I'll stop here. I will see you guys inshallah, most likely tomorrow or day after. I'll announce on my Instagram the topic that I'm streaming, so make sure that you guys join then. Okay, so that's it. Take care everyone. Allah Hafiz.